To our special guests today, and our first, we have one of Australia's finest and most talented actors, and arguably one of the busiest in the industry right now. She's starring in a number of Australian dramas. I know you know who she is. The ABC's Janet King and Jack Irish, alongside Guy Pearce, and the 1950s period drama A Place to Call Home, the third series of which will air on Foxtel later this year. Please join me in welcoming to the stage high-profile Australia for UNHCR supporter, Miss Marta Dusseldorp.
Good morning, everyone. It's such an honour to be here. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we meet, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and pay my respects to elders both past and present. And also my respects to Mr. Thomas Albrecht. It was wonderful to meet you earlier this morning. And Mr. Peter Weldon, where is he? Nice to meet you. Australia for UNHCR board members, Sandra Sully, the divine Sandra Sully. A round of applause for Sandra, I think. When she speaks, I listen. It's automatic. Mr. Ian Chappell, and of course the wonderful Miss Naomi Steer. Mr. Awer Mabil, guest speaker, who you'll meet, a very impressive young man, and my friends Aminata and Yari. So for me, that video we saw before we had our delicious breakfast here this morning really says it all. Watching young Ibrahim trying to comprehend the brutal truths. His father shot in front of him, macheted in the head, and then buried alive. I can't imagine a worse experience for anyone, let alone a 7-year-old child. How does anyone move on from that? UNHCR are there to try and give Ibrahim a way to come back from the violence and trauma. Perhaps it's moments at first, and eventually, hopefully, they will fill his life with new experiences and opportunities to help him want to learn, play, and eventually, hopefully, smile again, but without his father and countless others. I'm a mum, I'm a daughter, a wife, a sister, and also an actress. People often ask me if being a mother to my children is the greatest role I've ever played. Well, I say playing wife is my greatest performance. But being a mum, it's not a role. It's the most concrete, most profound and fulfilling event, experience, and all-encompassing thing in my life. And my life is very ordinary, very real and very ordinary. To think there are wives, mothers, grandmothers, fathers, sons and children like Ibrahim who will never experience the ordinariness of school drop-offs, putting in lunch orders, which my children only get once a week, library visits, that a young boy has been buried alive and had to be saved by his 11-year-old sister, that their dreams have become nightmares and their only hope is that someone will stop and care enough to give them a chance to start somewhere new. UNHCR are doing this on the ground in Nigeria, where 1.8 million people are internally displaced. As we meet here this morning, it makes you wonder, in the last few minutes, what life has been changed forever. It may be a whole generation that are losing their understanding that living should be free and ordinary. As Naomi said earlier, the number of refugees worldwide has hit 60 million. It's mind-boggling, really. I recently went to see a theatre production of Bertolt Brecht's Mother Courage and Her Children. For those who don't know it, it's a play about a woman and her 3 children surviving and ultimately dying, the children do, in a war zone. It was written in 1939, at a time when the world looked impossibly bad. This production I saw was set in 2015, and it was unnervingly recognisable. There are more refugees in the world today than after World War II. I'm here today because I believe the 60 million refugees are all people, like you and me, like Ibrahim, deserving to live ordinary lives, to work, to keep their families fed and clothed, educated, loved, and alive. I've recently worked with a wonderful young woman who's here today, Yari Bangura. Her story is one of courage and resilience. And, well, she's too wise for her 21 years of age. In speaking with her, she tells me, as a refugee fleeing from war-torn Sierra Leone, she was in a camp in Guinea, where UNHCR supplied her and her family with a tent, groundnut oil, maize, and a blanket. 4 practical objects of survival, sustenance, and warmth. And yet these objects also represented so much more. Hands around her, a smile of recognition, humanity, and care. Her ordinary life was turned upside down in extraordinary times. She had to run from her homeland, she lost family and friends, and she was forced to find another place to reclaim her childhood, her innocence. I can't look at you, I'm going to cry. Sorry, I'm a very emotional person. Yari says one of the saving graces through all of her pain and suffering has been the love and nurturing she received while being relocated. She felt empowered by organisations like UNHCR who wanted to help her talk of what had happened to her and begin to help her heal. She's faced her past, and Yari now sees clearly the path she must walk to help other people like herself who are still suffering. Yari, you're an inspiration to me. Every time I talk with you, I am filled with the belief that everyone can make a difference. There's nothing too small any of us can do, especially here today. So a donation of $155 is an emergency survival kit. A conversation could mean fuel for a stove or a tent. A story to tell other people, books for children to read at school. As Sandra said today, our target is to raise $105,000. And I must plug that I am a raffle prize. It's a meet and greet with me on the set of A Place to Call Home. Raffle tickets are only $20 each, and 3 for $50. I wouldn't mind upping that ante, actually, because I spoke with Foxtel and they said they'd throw in lunch. I have to say we have the best caterers in the business. Noni Hazelhurst will join us, and I'm going to take you for a tour around the set. So I wondered if I could throw it out there and see if anyone wanted to make a pledge for that lunch. I'm not an auctioneer, I don't quite know how to do this. But there is the one-off donation of $1,370. I thought if someone just wanted to throw their hand up and win it straight away, the raffle ticket winners can also come. And there's a hand there, $1,370. Thank you so much. I'll come and see you afterwards. Excellent. That felt good. I've seen people do that. It's quite, I could push it, but I won't because he was so generous and quick. So Australia for UNHCR has more than 70,000 Australians already committed to supporting emergency relief in war-torn nations, and my heartfelt thanks also to those of you here today. Lastly, I just wanted to tell you, my daughters love stories, and what child doesn't? And in their childhood, they need and deserve a happy ending. But you know, I used to think that was silly. I used to think, let the kids see the world just isn't a fairy tale ending. But now as my girls drift towards 10 years of age, I want to freeze them in happy endings. Keep their innocence intact and their dreams full of Cinderella and the prince and playing with yo-yos. I don't even know if these girls know what yo-yos are, do you? Yeah, oh, they do, okay. Their ones have batteries, but in my day, they just used to go down and not necessarily come up, I don't know. But although there were people who could do these things that I could never do. So for children who don't have this choice, everyone here today, we stand for you and we stand by you. So I'd like to end with a quote from Brecht, who wrote so very long ago, "In a good country, virtues wouldn't be necessary. Everybody could be quite ordinary." Thank you.